You see, we need more of Dallas Jenkins and a lot less of God's Not Dead. I almost said Saving Christmas. So the best Christmas pageant ever is a film directed by Dallas Jenkins, who is the creator of The Chosen, which is one of my favorite shows currently running and just favorite shows of all time. He is a Christian filmmaker who is standing out in his industry because, well, his stuff doesn't suck. Faith-based cinema gets a bad rep because we have stuff like God's Not Dead, the Left Behind movies, and I understand that a lot of this can come off preachy and cheesy and just overall bad.
Hey, Scotty. Jesus, man.
I keep going because I know that they are in heaven. That there is a heaven, that it's real. Real? This room is real. This is real.
But this is where Dallas Jenkins comes in. He has completely pushed the boundaries in terms of what Christian or faith-based cinema can achieve with The Chosen, and now he has made another new movie called The Best Christmas Pageant Ever, which is just in time for the holidays, and does a great job of capturing the Christmas spirit. Now, prior to going into this film, I did not know who was in the cast. I hadn't seen a trailer. I saw a poster, and I watched Sean Chandler's interview with Dallas Jenkins himself literally the day before going to see it in the theater. I was able to talk my brother and mom into coming with me, so I wasn't just going alone, and we all had a good time watching this. The plot is adopted from a novel of the same name, which was written decades ago, and I have never read it, I'd never even heard of it, but apparently Dallas Jenkins was working to properly adapt it and not try to manipulate or change, alter too much from the source material, and just deliver an authentic transliteration of that story on the big screen. So I can't necessarily speak to any accuracy of the actual book because I haven't read it, but considering how accurately and well-intentioned his adapting of the Gospels are in The Chosen, I think it's safe to say that this is probably a good reflection of that story. So the central plot is Judy Greer is put in charge of running this Christmas pageant, and she's working to the best of her ability to carry on the tradition that the previous director had put in place until she was recently unable to perform her duties, and is being judged and criticized by some of the other moms in the church, and this is putting a lot of pressure on her. But meanwhile, there's also these characters called the Herdmans, which is just like this group of kids that are just the worst. They are delinquents, neglected by their parents, no discipline whatsoever, and basically like the stereotypical school bullies that the other kids are afraid of and want nothing to do with. So one day, these Herdman kids walk into the church thinking they're going to get a bunch of free food and snacks and stuff. And as they're listening to the sermon, they start to ask a lot of questions. They want to be involved in the pageant. Originally, their intentions are very selfish, and they start wanting to become more involved in the pageant so the other kids can't, because they want to turn in the spotlight. And they also just get kicks out of taking stuff from other people. So this is just, another way to do that. And the story goes from there. But really what is so interesting about this film is the dynamic between these kids who never really had any discipline or any parental guidance in their life, clashing with these people that are, structured, traditional, and how they can mingle to put on this pageant and how they're able to collaborate with each other and the struggles that they face along the way. Like I said, Judy Greer is in this. She plays the mom, which is very on brand for her. I swear she plays the same character in just about every movie, whether it's Halloween or Ant-Man or this. Granted, those are totally different movies than this, but I don't know. There was a different feel about this character, I guess, and I just felt a little bit more wholesome. Pete Holmes is also in this. I would have never expected Pete Holmes, who's a stand-up comedian and not exactly the most tame, like a Tim Hawkins or Brad Stein type, but here he is, and you know what? He's not bad. I mean, he's serviceable to the character that he's playing, but I gotta add, very not Pete Holmesy. If you're familiar with his college humor sketches or his stand-up comedy in general, this is not that in any capacity. This is almost like Bob Saget going to Full House. That's how it feels. Because this is Dallas Jenkins, we got a couple of Chosen alums in here. We got Kirk B.R. Waller, who is the minister, and we have Elizabeth Tabish showing up as one of the snooty church moms. These, of course, are smaller roles, but it's just nice seeing these actors in other projects. I will say the child actors in this movie, I think they did a good job. It's really hard these days, I feel, finding child actors. They're not all going to be like Elliot from E.T., who had just like the best audition I've ever seen from any actor, period. But these kids, I think, did a decent job with what they were doing. All the Herdman kids were funny and enjoyable. The girl playing Imogene was pretty good, I'd say. She pulled off the tough as nails kind of shtick while also having a deeper, more emotional side to the character as well. The main girl playing Beth, I believe was her name, did a pretty good job too. She has a couple of scenes with Imogene that I thought were really good and showcased their dynamic really well. I also really liked her younger brother, Charlie. He was just a funny comedic relief every now and then. I will say the one thing I was talking to my family about as we were walking out of the theater is just that it's nice to see a film like this that was just so, like, it wasn't like this high stakes story or whatever. It was just like getting a local Christmas pageant together and what kind of shenanigans and struggles that can create. It was just a nice simplistic story that had a lot of heart and overall just felt like a wholesome, warm hug, which is what I think most Christmas movies should feel like. For a film centered around Christianity and celebrating the nativity and as opposed to like commercialized Christmas, this has plenty of big names in here, or at least bigger names than I would have expected from a Lionsgate-produced Christian film. Lauren Graham is in this as well as the narrator. And I don't know, I just get a kick out of seeing more mainstream actors in projects like this that are not so high budget and not quite as mainstreamed. Now, obviously, Christmas is a Christian holiday, so this implements a lot of Christian themes in it. And I think that some people are either going to like that or they won't. However, as a Christian myself, and maybe I'm just biased here because of my faith, but I don't think that this film was nearly as preachy as a lot of other films that are faith-based cinema that I have seen before. This is certainly not a Left Behind situation or a Saving Christmas or God's Not Dead. There's a pretty good story here that doesn't just, make the atheist the bad guy and then have to reform them by the end to say that they accomplished something in the film, and the Christian is always a static person who doesn't grow or develop throughout the process. No, the whole point of the film is addressing all kinds of people that attend the church. People who are there giving their best effort, people who are stubborn, adhere to tradition, and won't accept anything else, and the people who are outcasts by society, want to know more, and are being shunned away because of their public perception. It's just a really interesting dichotomy of what types of people can walk into a church and yet they can all be united by Christ and learn to grow from each other and take on new perspectives. Now, if I could throw some criticism at this, I think that there are a couple of scenes that are a little cheesy. Maybe the execution didn't look as amazing as it could have. And I mostly noticed this in the beginning. Now, there is narration covering a lot of this film. I would say that some scenes could have done without the narration and was over-explaining situations. I think it would have been better to just let the film breathe and visually convey what was on screen without that additional voiceover. But I think that Dallas Jenkins was just adhering more to the book and wanting to properly translate that. And so he was keeping those elements in just to reflect the source material. I don't think that that's necessarily a problem, but I do think that it might have held the film back in a couple of spots. Like, as I understand it, the opening narration is ripped right out of the book, and it's talking about, like, what the kids do and how they're bad kids and stuff like that. And there's moments that get a little cheesy throughout the film. I think in the third act is where things get kind of, like, a little hammed up and also a tad bit predictable as to what's about to happen. I feel like there's a climax that I've seen this, I don't know how many times before. And so by the time we get to the resolution of all of it, I could already see it coming and I knew just exactly how this was going to go. Not that that really soured the experience, but I think that that's where the film might be held back, at least narratively. Granted, I suppose that more so hinges on the writing of the actual book as opposed to the film, which is just trying to properly adapt the novel. But I will say, if you're looking for just a wholesome, fun little movie to take the family to and just celebrate the Christmas season, even though it's November, but who cares? We pause for Thanksgiving. It is Christmas after Halloween up until Christmas Day. And before you say that you can't be playing Mariah Carey until after Thanksgiving, listen, Thanksgiving falls super late this year. we only get a 3-week window between Thanksgiving and Christmas Day, so we're playing it all month. Have at it. For a score of 10, well, I had a good time with this one, so let's give it a 7. Alright, so the best Christmas pageant ever. Yes, they say the title 3 times in the movie. Have you seen it yet? Did you even know it was out? Are you a fan of The Chosen as well, and that's what brought you to this? Or is this your first time seeing anything by Dallas Jenkins? I would love to hear what you have to say, whether you liked the film or you didn't, whether it really resonated with you or you thought it was preachy garbage. Please, in the comments down below, let me know what you thought. I would love to see how our opinions differ. However, please don't go at each other's throats over this. This is just a movie after all, not the most important thing in the world. And if you like this video, please give a like down below. Subscribe if you want more videos like this in your feed. And if you want, you can go to the description, check out the other links I have down there. I have my Instagram, Letterboxd, Serialized, and GG accounts. Letterboxd where I post movie reviews, Serialized where I post TV show reviews, and GG is where I post video game reviews. And not all those reviews make it onto this channel. So if you don't want to be waiting around for me to edit a video every single time you want to know my certain thoughts on a movie, TV show, or video game, then I highly suggest going down to the description, give me a follow on all those platforms. It doesn't cost you a thing. But until next time, guys, God be with you. Take care.